Traveling the Vortex.
We've joined the Doctor as he plays a rousing game of catch in the Vortex and arrive at episode 574. That's alright then. I'm Keith.
I'm Sean.
I'm Glenn.
That's all right.
How are you guys doing?
Pretty good. How about you?
All right.
We've got a few sick people in our house, but not real bad. Robin had COVID, but
Ooh.
yeah, she's recovering. And then Holly's been sick, but we don't think she has COVID. So
Gemma got a flu shot on Wednesday and then came down sick Wednesday night and was out Wednesday, Thursday.
Oh, my.
And we thought, she's just having a reaction to the shot. Then Liam got sick on Saturday. So it was, maybe not. Luckily, Sarah and I have been all right, other than just kind of a little more tired than normal.
Yeah, well, that's good. Yeah, I've been okay so far, and a little more tired than normal. But did you guys watch or read anything this week?
I went to Kansas City and saw my favorite movie of all time on the big screen in 4K, and it was awesome.
And which movie is that?
The special edition of The Abyss.
Xanadu.
No, that's a pretty good one, but no, I can't back that up. It's terrible, but I love it.
The special edition?
Oh, God,
No,
I wish.
the special edition of The Abyss just got reissued for one night only. And it was everything I had hoped it would be and more. It was so good to see it again, and it was glorious and beautiful, and now I can't wait for the digital copy drops, I want to say this week, and then the physical media comes out next year in March. So,
is it that long after the digital?
Yep.
That's interesting.
I don't know why.
Well, because they want you to buy the digital, and then they want you in 4 months to buy the Blu-ray. So,
yeah, but the Blu-ray comes with the digital, so I'll wait.
What about you, Keith?
We watched or finished part 1 of the final season of The Crown, which was a huge downer. Looking forward to part 2, which drops this week. Hopefully it kind of lightens the mood a little bit, because this whole first part, which was only 4 episodes, was all of the Dodie and Diana 16 days before their death and death. So it's a foreboding and then that's a downer. And it ends with the aftermath of her death. So it's kind of a, okay. Didn't love it, but that's also because it pretty much only focused on that and barely focused on anyone else, which I understand why they did it that way. I just want to see the other characters as well.
Right.
And then I watched the final season of Ghosts, the UK version.
And?
Which was good. I don't think it's as good as the previous seasons as far as humor goes, but it was a very good goodbye to the show. What about you, Glenn?
I didn't. We've been watching, the usual fare of Christmas specials, so nothing really new. We've watched both. Well, 2.5 Pepper Landings, because the one's a short film. The third one's a short, and then some Frosty and some just a bunch of other stuff. Almost all the Charlie Brown ones now, which I hadn't seen. It's Christmas time again, Charlie Brown, for a long time. So we watched that one. Christmas festivities are in full screen.
And then I got whammed this morning.
I saw that. Now, in what world does Sean Collins go out before Glenn Bartlett in Whamageddon? In what world does that happen?
My alarm radio is set to 94.9, which is a station out of Kansas City, and they've already switched over. They've been full Christmas music since Thanksgiving, and so I normally listen just enough to the news in the morning and then flip off, because it's like, nope, I don't want to get hammered. And so I was up this morning and getting ready to go, and they were talking, and we're going to do this, and this contest is coming up, blah, blah, blah. And I'm sitting here literally thinking to myself, you should go turn that off. You should turn that off, because they're going to go to a break, and you're going to get Last Christmas. And I was like, yeah, but, it's all the way over there.
What are the odds?
I have this on my, the Google Home thing. All I have to do is say, "Hey Ziggy," and it turns it off. That's how lazy I was. And I kept thinking, dude, you got to do it. You got to do it. You got to. And then they said, "Well, we'll take caller number 9 for this contest. Here's Last Christmas." I went, "No."
And you didn't get to turn it off in time?
No.
They announced it even?
They announced it. Here's George Michael. Like,
and I can see Sean diving across the room. No! In slow motion and just missing it.
In a weird way, I feel like a weight has been lifted off.
So I saw that and I was like, oh, wow. But, over the weekend, we were in the car and we were driving to somewhere. I don't even remember where we were going, but I think we were going to the grocery store. We're driving to the grocery store, and we have KMAJ on in the car all the time, and it's always Christmas, but that's because we absolutely love Christmas music. So it's playing in the background, and I'm always assuming I'm going to get whammed because I listen to Christmas music all the time. Now, granted, in my car, I listen to my own playlist, and I have strategically taken Wham off of that playlist the last couple of years, but we're listening to the radio because that's what Holly listens to when she's in the car. And so it's down low enough that, you can hear what's going on, but we're talking and not really paying attention. And then I hear it. It's Last Christmas. And I'm like, oh no, I think I'm out. And I turned it up and it was, I don't even know who it was. It was somebody else. It was a woman singing it. So I don't know whose version it was.
Oh, a cover of it.
Yeah, so it was a cover. And so I was like, okay, well, that doesn't count. So I'm still in. And then, okay. I get up this morning and I look at Facebook and I go, oh, Sean's been whammed.
Yeah, I said, and I mean, it's one of those things I enjoy playing because it's fun. I like the song.
I do too.
Animosity about it. So it was kind of like, so once it clicked and I had my no moment, then I just sat there and bebopped to it for another 3 minutes. Well, if I'm going to enjoy it, I might as well enjoy it,
Yeah.
Hello, fellow time travelers, and welcome to the Doctor Who Target Book Club podcast, the only podcast to discuss, in story order, all the Doctor Who novelizations. My name is Tony Witt, and every 2 weeks or so, I'm joined by a 2 to 3 person discussion panel, including our so-called expert who's been a Who fan since 1979. That would be me. We also get the views of intermediate, casual, and novice fans who either have never seen the show or who have never read these books until these podcasts, including
Dalton Hughes
and
Alison Fitz-Seyfried.
You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, or wherever you find good podcasts, or even ones like ours. You're listening to Traveling the Vortex, a Direction Point podcast.
You are invited on an adventure across all of time and space, in a completely random order. It's the Police Box in the Junkyard podcast. Jump in the TARDIS with your hosts,
Eric Gulbranson,
Asad Kheshki,
and
Matthew Kressel.
Explore Doctor Who TV stories, audio adventures, and books, both novels and non-fiction. The Police Box in the Junkyard podcast. It's the entire Whoniverse on shuffle. The Police Box in the Junkyard podcast is a member of the Direction Point network and is available about once a month wherever you find your podcasts. You are listening to Traveling the Vortex.
All right, well, let's talk about some news. We don't have anything before that, right? No, news.
Well, they announced this week that the Celestial Toymaker is coming out on Blu-ray and DVD animated.
So it was inevitable, right?
Yeah, the mirror was right.
Yeah.
Raise your hands.
Although I think the mirror indicated that it was going to come out.
Well, I got to thinking about that, and I did not mean to go back. I meant to go back and check, but I did not. But the more I thought about it, I almost think they framed it in the way that was going to be announced near the specials. But I think we took it that it was coming out near the specials. So, it may be written vaguely enough that it could imply either way.
It covered its bases.
Yeah, exactly. Like I say, I forgot to go back and look and verify that. But I had it in my head that maybe that wasn't quite written the way we read it. But either way.
a Doctor Who story will be animated at some point in time.
Well, they specifically said toy.
You heard it here first.
They specifically said Celestial Toymaker, so I think that we can give them some credit with.
They did, probably.
Yeah.
They did.
That's their.
Which sounds weird.
They've got somebody on the inside for sure.
So, have we watched the trailer?
Yeah.
What do you guys think of the animation style?
I don't love it, but I'm willing to give it a chance. It looks better than Web of Fear did. I assume it's the same company.
I don't know that it is, but it is certainly the same. They're taking the same approach wherever it is.
It's got a very much early Clone Wars look to it.
Well, yeah, if Clone Wars was done a little cheaper.
Early Clone.
Early season 1.
I don't even think it's Clone Wars. It's more like reboot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean,
a little bit.
It's early CGI look to it. And I'm with you. I don't love it. But while my brain was going, oh, Reign of Terror. For this one, it this is going to sound weird. It kind of makes sense.
It works for the story.
For the story,
it works for this story
because of the structure of the story and what it's dealing with, and this is a made up universe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that kind of gives you some poetic license in that regard. So,
and it's a story that doesn't have a lot of human characters in it, anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's going to help. It's the humans that look kind of weird in it, not everything else about it. So the clowns looking kind of odd and strange, that's kind of fits into it.
Right.
Just our main characters in the Toymaker are going to be the ones that are going to be giving you the uncanny valley aspect of things.
And it makes the robot even more robot-like, I feel. Even more even more toy-like, I mean.
Toy-like.
Yeah.
But the more I look at it, though, the more I like it. The longer I look at it, the more I like it. Because it almost has
the same way.
It almost has that, yes, Clone Wars early CG animation, but it also has that style over it that's really popular right now too.
Yeah.
Like across the Spider-Verse and Ninja Turtles. I mean, it's kind of it feels like it's trying to invoke those sort of styles instead of being just a CG animated show.
And it feels like I don't mean this very disparaging, although I sort of do, but it feels like a low budget version of they're using what money they have to try to emulate that style. And I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
And I think that's what it is now, more than now that I look at the clips and kind of slow down the video even more.
I'm the same way. I when I first saw it, I wasn't sure I loved the animation, and then and I'm still
I didn't love it when I saw it.
Well, I there's still animation.
Now it's growing on me.
There's still animation that I like much better than it, but I didn't even sit back and go, oh, I don't like that. It was just more of a okay. So that's something. But the more that I watched the clips, I thought, God, this really works for this story. So yeah, the more I watched it, the more I liked it.
It was kind of like when CGI first started and they would do things that were computer animated and just nothing really looked right. Nothing worked. And then Toy Story came out.
Mm.
And because it was about toys, everything had that plastic sheen.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, oh, okay, this works for this, because they hadn't quite figured out how to do texturing. So it was like the plastic toys looked right in the CGI versus a human character, which does not. And so this kind of reminds me of that,
mm-hmm.
that because it's the Toymaker, that there's that kind of unreal quality to it anyway.
We, I think one step closer, we watched just this week, we watched Knick Knack, which is the little Pixar short
on
the snowman that's in the snow globe. And yeah, I had forgotten how primitive that looked until we went back and watched it. It's still a good short, and it still looks great for when it was made. But yeah, it's very much more in that vein where there isn't a lot of texturing to it. It's much more simple, much more plastic looking.
Tin Toy would probably be a good
Tin
thing
Toy's
to
a good
pair
one
up
too.
with.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, now I want to go watch that one. Yeah, no, I'm excited. I'm glad that we're getting it, and obviously we'll get it a little later than UK, but eventually we'll have it.
Yeah, you can't even pre-order it. Last I looked.
Not yet.
So no date at this point.
No
on that,
date.
right?
date on this.
There is one for the
point.
UK, right? But not.
I
for
don't
us.
think there is. Let me
Well,
verify.
it's on Amazon. Well, I got spoiled actually, because somebody posted on Amazon before they announced it that, oh look, the Celestial Toy Maker's on Amazon, and I saw it that morning on a tweet, and I was like, oh okay, well I wonder if that's legit. And then Sean pointed out, oh look what they announced. I was like, well, I guess I knew that was coming, I suppose.
Amazon has a release date of December 31st, 2024.
Well, then they've just put an arbitrary date in, because that surely won't be that long.
I would hope not.
It'll be here soon
Or they
enough.
have a lot more they're going to work on it.
Yeah, well, maybe. It'll be here soon enough.
Yeah, the Rare Waves just has coming soon as a release date.
Okay, so there is officially no release date.
Yeah. They just say coming soon.
What else do we have?
Oh, Doctor Who has a single topping the charts, and it's not Doctor in Distress.
That's right.
It took them how long to get a single on the charts?
Yeah, isn't that funny? So so we should say the Goblin song came out, which is their Christmas single, which is going to be a musical number in the upcoming Doctor Who episode at Christmas with Shooty's first full episode on his own. And they announced, damn it. Am I still here?
You're still here.
Mm-hmm.
Who left? Nobody left. Okay.
No one. Sean put a comment.
Oh,
Sean,
I'm sorry.
quit
Does that
putting
ding
comments.
on your
No,
end?
yeah, that's okay. Don't worry about it. So, so there's the single's coming out, and it came out today. It was released. I just checked, and it is number 1 on the charts in the UK, which is what our goal was, to get it number 1 on the charts in the UK.
Now we can stop.
That's right. Have you guys had a chance to listen to it?
It's a cute little song.
Cute. It's
For
about
what it
eating
is.
babies.
It's still it's catchy,
Yeah, it is catchy.
kind of.
David Bowie really let himself go in that video.
I used that joke on Robin tonight. She thought that was funny.
Yeah, I again, another thing that I kind of had to reset my fan brain, because I went, okay, let's see what this is all about. Play. And then it launched into it. And my initial reaction was, like, yeah, I really don't know this is going to work. But this is no different than George Lucas throwing a music video into Return of the Jedi. So it was like, you know what? Yeah, it's a Christmas special. RTD always does big, bizarre, gonzo stuff for Christmas. Why not? So, and it is kind of a funny song.
Seeing it in context is going to make all the difference.
I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, and the video on YouTube obviously shows some, bits other than the song that's going on. So it's clearly what's taken out of the episode.
It's definitely out of the episode. There are still some indications from some sources saying that there's more than just this musical number in it as well, though. So
it might be a whole musical episode.
There's a chance we may have a Buffy thing going on here.
And if it's just the goblins singing, I think that's fine. It becomes weird and kind of a Buffy thing when everyone else starts singing too.
You know what though? The Buffy thing was a Buffy thing, and then everybody was like cool with it. So in any sort of context that they do it, I think that it'll work.
The thing is, the Buffy thing put it into context within their universe.
Well, yeah,
and just didn't do it to do it. So
as
long as they do something like that,
that's my point. The Buffy thing was a Buffy thing until it was a Buffy thing, and then everybody was like, "Okay, well that makes sense in context." Because I remember when they announced the Buffy musical episode, it was like, "Oh, okay, that's dumb," and then it worked, and they made it work. And I think that if this one does the same thing, and like you say, it's not just to be done the way that, just to do it, then yeah.
Only got a couple more weeks to wait.
That's right.
And then we'll know for sure.
But we're hoping that it becomes the Christmas #1 single in the UK. It's well on its way now. I say it's at the top of the charts. It's at the top of the iTunes UK charts right now. Let's be clear.
Which is probably the most important one, seriously.
Well, it does count because that's the #1 site for downloading music at this point. But
no,
it's a good indicator. Let's put it that way. As much as you don't like YouTube, Sean, it is iTunes. Legitimately, or iTunes. It legitimately is.
No.
All right, let's move on. Let's talk about.
They went full tilt on promoting Shooty shortly after the episode, and one of the clips they included was Shooty showing off his new sonic screwdriver, which looks very different from any sonic screwdriver that's come before. I kind of like the look of it, though.
You remember how, like, a classic car has a look to it, and then that one year comes along where they completely redesign it, and everybody goes, well, it doesn't even look like a blah, blah, blah anymore. You know, like Mustangs went through that really ugly phase in the 80s where they didn't even look like Mustangs.
I'll take your word for it. I don't know.
You don't really?
No, I don't remember that.
Or they just, you know, they'll do something where they'll kind of reinvent the wheel, but in the process they redesign everything that makes it what it was to begin with.
Yeah. No, I get what you mean. I just didn't know that specific one reference.
Oh yeah, 80s Mustangs are ugly.
I like all the models of the Mustangs. But go ahead. We're not going to get off on that.
You like the classic ones. Trust me. You like.
I prefer the classic
even
ones.
Like the new ones that they released in I don't know when was it, 2000 something, that were pretty sharp looking. But the 80s, ugly. Anyway, I kind of getting that vibe off of it, like because it looks like a lady razor. In a way, you know, it's rounded and it's a much bulkier piece of equipment, almost like a Star Trek tricorder. I mean, like a next gen tricorder, not like an original. Yeah. But it's all
looks like a novelty sound effects device, is what it looks like.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a right angle on it. It's all rounds and
it's ergonomic.
Yeah, that's what it is. It looks like an ergonomic mouse with the trackball. Yeah, it kind of looks like that. I don't know. It just doesn't look like a screwdriver anymore.
No.
But here's the thing. Here's why I'm okay with it. Is we've complained for how long that it's no longer just a. So they've redesigned it to be a multi-tool, which has a screwdriver attachment to it. I mean, it's now at least embracing the fact that it does more than just unscrew things sonically. Okay. It does a lot more than that now, and it shows that it does that.
Part of it like flips out like a Swiss Army knife.
Oh, who knows?
Then I would be totally okay with this.
But it's a Sonic, so it doesn't need to flip out because it can do it sonically.
The emitter, you know, it's got a little that comes out, and I don't know. Yeah. You've redecorated.
I think maybe I'm a little on Sean's side with this one because I like the originality. I like them taking some chances and doing something different. But it's really hard for me to accept that design.
It's better than the Sonic Cane. Probably a step below the glasses, though.
Well, that's just it. I mean, they have gone outside the box a little bit, but they never called them screwdrivers. And like you said,
it's true.
They're referring to.
Well,
this
I wonder
as
if he won't actually call it a screwdriver in the actual show. They're just
maybe not. Maybe
in the promotional material as a sonic screwdriver.
Yeah, because
you could just refer to it as my Sonic.
Right, because that's everybody's used to the Doctor having a sonic screwdriver.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean,
I do like. Go ahead.
No, it's fine.
I do like the. Did you see what he said about the Gallifreyan symbols on the back?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
which I like the fact that it says the sharpness of the tongue defeats the sharpness of the warrior. That's a very Doctor Who sentiment to have on his quote unquote weapon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'll get used to it. I'm sure that it'll be fine. It's a little off-putting to me right now, but I'm sure I will grow to love it.
We are going on a journey, a very long journey, through the world of the Target novelizations in publication order. Every week, we are looking at a new book, talking about Terrence Dicks, Malcolm Hulke, and all our Doctor Who novelization friends. Whatever you do, keep turning the pages. This is Jason Miller of the Doctor Who Literature Podcast, a member of the Direction Point Podcast Network, and you are listening to Traveling the Vortex, a Direction Point podcast.
They all say, who is Doctor Who?
This is Tim Trelaw.
This is David J. Howe.
I'm Peter Purvis.
I am Sadie Miller.
This is Lauren Cornelius.
Larry, it's Fraser.
For all things in the Doctor Who collecting world and beyond, the Doctor Who Collectors Podcast. I'm Larry Van Mersbergen, your host, and I've been collecting for 42 years. You're listening to Traveling the Vortex on the Direction Point Podcast Network.
Hi, I'm Rupert Booth.
I am known as Paul Ferry.
And my name is Barry Williams.
Together, we host Time Ram.
Time Ram's a cruel mistress.
It's a random number generator.
That also.
We roll a number from 1 to 13, and that's our Doctor. Then 1 to 300 for the story, and then we ram them together.
Even if it doesn't make sense.
Cruel, I tell you.
Time Ram, putting the wrong Doctors in the wrong stories, so you don't have to.
You're listening to Traveling the Vortex.
All right, let's move on to our review.
The Giggle. The Doctor is powerless as the terrifying Toymaker holds the human race in his grasp.
That's it, huh?
That's what Disney Plus says.
All right, Sean.
That was the whole shebang, huh?
They don't want to give too much away.
Okay.
We got to quit using the Disney Plus synopsis.
I'll go to TARDIS Wiki and it'll give me an hour and a half to describe it.
No. Don't go there. It'll be way too much. We need to find a middle ground, and that's not it.
Too much. Let me sum up. I'm going to give it a mostly bum, because I liked probably 90% of it.
I give it a big resounding bum. I've seen it twice, and I loved it the first time, and then I let it set for a little while and wondered if I loved it still as much, and I went back and watched it again and said, yep, I loved it just as much.
I liked it a lot, too. I have not gone back and rewatched it, but I'm itching to do so. I wanted a little bit more out of it. I felt like there could have been more depth. There was a lot of great story points and metaphors that they could have touched on and delved deeper into. I thought that's a kind of a missed opportunity on it, but being a big 60th extravaganza final special, I kind of can let that go. Neil Patrick Harris as a Toymaker I thought was absolutely fantastic. But it felt like we resolved the Toymaker a little too soon. I wanted more of that because of those things I just said about, having additional depth that could be there. There's a lot more meat to what the Toymaker was doing than we really got. And then the performance was just so over the top and fantastic that it was great.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is one that kind of begged for another 20 to 30 minutes. Just to kind of help flesh out some of the big ideas, specifically in regards to the Toymaker. But I liked the fact that the plot had this, kind of parallel track with what's happening now. And, in the real world, as it were.
I guess I wasn't bothered so much. I absolutely loved Neil Patrick Harris in this, and I was just completely eating up the every time he was on it. I absolutely loved it. It was wonderful. It was so much fun watching him. But I also don't feel like it. I didn't feel like it was wrapped up too quickly, because I think what happens at that moment when the thing happens and Shooty comes on screen, he just commands the performance from there on out. And I think that it really needed to be, okay, we're putting the device aside, which is the toy maker, and we're going to wrap that up and then give them that room to kind of explore what they explore between him and the 14th Doctor, and why maybe this happened, and that it is time for him to slow down and stop, and that he's gone 15 lives now, and this Doctor can kind of retire, but also the Doctor can go on in a different means. And so I think they needed that time away to deal with that. And so I kind of felt like I was done with the toy maker at that point. Not that I wouldn't have liked another 20 minutes. Yes, that would have been good, but I didn't feel myself yearning for it at that point. So I kind of come at it a little different, I suppose.
See, and I wouldn't want more toy maker after that point. I just want more toy maker leading up to
sure.
Yeah. And I could have used a little bit more unit too, because obviously they're establishing a spinoff.
Yeah, and I think that's
with
exactly
everything that's going on there. I felt very much, what's going on? I felt trying to catch up a little too much while
I think
breezing through all the unit stuff.
I think that's exactly why they did the unit stuff that way, because it's just a taste of what we're going to be getting from that spin-off series. So I think that was actually probably framed well. We don't need more than that because we're going to get more than that. So I think I liked that just having a little taste of what's to come. I also think that Donna Noble is going to be in the unit episode now, or the unit series now, especially since
at the very least, as occasional guest stars.
Right, since she got hired there on the spot, which I thought was great when she negotiated double. She negotiated double the salary with 5 weeks off. That was great. I love that.
I went through the whole range of 60 a year. It's like, that's pretty good. And then Donna said 120 with 5 weeks off, done. And I went, yeah, that's even better. That's like hazard pay,
Working for a unit, you need it.
Man, I'd have settled for 60. What a dummy.
I think there were a lot of people really wanting to know about the Vlinks, and I think that what they gave us was good and necessary for us to whet our appetite and go, okay, so who is this? Where did this come from? There's been a little bit of behind the scenes. I think Phil Collinson said that the idea of the Vlinks, which we'll get more later, but he's I think salvaged from he's a passing spaceship that crashes, and he ends up being salvaged and brought to unit from that. And that's all we know, I guess, as far as I have been able to dig up. But I like the fact that we don't know anything about him, and that he's just kind of thrown on our face, because now we can go into the unit series and backtrack and show all of this great stuff that we saw. We can show how it kind of comes to be. I mean, or at least learn more about it as we go.
You could very easily set the show, sometime between Power of the Doctor and this, build up, jump past it, and then move on.
Right. Or do it from a, I suppose this is kind of what you're, this is
an info dump.
Right. I think this is what you're also saying, but I think maybe start from post this, but give us little pieces of prior to as we got to this point. Yeah. I think that would be kind of cool. Maybe even start the first episode as a current time episode, and then maybe the next one be a this episode to kind of set the players in motion. So each week, each player kind of gets a different build up or examination, and then come back to present day and go from there. That might be kind of cool. I don't know. We're developing a show that we have nothing to do with. You're right.
Can you tell we're a little excited about it?
Which I really hope Mel is a part of that show.
Yeah, and I think that I think we have some confirmation that she will be in some future episodes of the main series.
Yeah, because they didn't announce that she was going to be for this, if I remember correctly. They announced that
right.
it was going to be in the first season of Shooty's season.
That is
so
right.
obviously we're going to come back to Unit at some point.
Yeah, and we did learn later that she was in this, but yeah,
I don't think I did. I was shocked.
Oh,
you
were really? Oh, leading up to this. Oh, a few weeks back, they had started because there's a shot in the trailer that somebody spotted her in the background, and that became the buzz. Oh, wait, Bonnie Langford must be in this, and then I think BBC official finally said, or Doctor Who official finally said, yes, Bonnie Langford will be in this. So I knew going into it based on that. So, but it was still a wonderful moment when she shows up. I loved that.
Yeah.
They still didn't explain
about that.
They didn't explain how she got from the 25th century to the 20th century, but they did explain that she bounced around the universe for a while with Savlon Glitz. So they at least stressed that. And then they did say she caught a what? I don't remember what they said she caught.
Something.
Zoinic, something like that to get back.
Zinx or something.
Yeah. So maybe
like an Uber, but not.
maybe it also
time travel Uber.
Maybe it also goes in time and space as well as space. So I'll let it pass.
How cool is it that Savlon Glitz was still a thing?
Yeah.
The fact that they actually referenced him was fantastic.
Well, he lived to 110 and then tripped on a wine bottle and died. They kind of laughed about it, but I thought, that's kind of glib, but also kind of funny and poetic.
Well, that's
how that character would go.
Yeah,
that's totally how he would go out.
That's so true.
Living the life for all of us. I'm going to pour one out to you now, Savlon Glitz.
Yeah.
No, that was great. I had no idea that Bonnie was going to be in it. So seeing Mel again was just like, oh, that was cool. And another thing that somebody has made the kind of, I don't know, say crass comment, but, well, I guess all old companions go to work for a unit now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. But
they could if they want to.
It
they don't
totally
have to.
makes sense that they would. Because, well, they have some experience with us, so why wouldn't unit reach out and say,
right,
hey, could we hire you as a part-time consultant if we need you? Could we bring you in for something? Makes sense. And then if you're going to have a former companion on a keyboard being a desk jockey,
right?
Yeah, Mel, the computer programmer.
Which that is what's great about this is we went how many episodes of her being a computer programmer and never doing anything with that, and now finally we get her in her actual profession in this story. I think that was great that they did that.
Yeah.
So that was all very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Now, okay, I'm going to show my lack of education here. Is this the guy that really invented television?
Yes. Mm-hmm. And the name of that
and the doll
was what was it, Stooky Bill?
That's really the way it went down.
Yeah. Television was invented in the UK by the Scottish, I don't remember the guy's name. But yeah, it was actually invented by him. And it was almost exactly, in fact, I think they had two different ventriloquist dummy heads that they used, Stooky Bill, and then there was another one. But yeah, that's how it really went down. Well, I mean, minus the giggle, although maybe it really did go down with the giggle.
That last satellite, as far as I know, hasn't actually gone up yet. So.
Right.
This isn't like a Mavity thing. This is the way it actually went.
If you go online, you can find pictures of.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Of Stooky Bill on the actual first transmission.
No idea. Well, that was cool then.
Yeah.
Stooky Bill less so. Glenn, ventriloquist dummies are still creepy.
When I saw when I saw it hanging on the wall in the toy shop, I thought, oh, Sean's gonna hate that.
And then later,
that whole sequence
Oh, just wait till you see the real thing, Sean.
Being threatened by the rest of the Suki family. Yeah, that's kind of what I envision Glenn's garage to be like. Which is why I frequently leave your presents at the wrong house, because I don't want to go near it.
You don't want to come anywhere close.
Oh, good God, no, take that
away. Keith has posted
and you
in
can
our
go see him in person.
Keith has posted a picture, a real Stooky Bill picture in our chat. So
no,
he survived better than the fire indicated in the episode.
So yeah, that was cool. As the aforementioned Neil Patrick Harris was great. Did anybody else get a Big Finish vibe off of the shop? Like the guy walked into the toy store, and I'm like,
the Charlie episode.
Listen to this.
The Charlie episode. Yeah, absolutely.
Where's the cabinet? Where's the escape room?
Well, that little door. That's the door that you.
That was it.
In fact, very much in the same line, when she goes through the door and ends up back in the toy shop, very much the same thing with the hallways that was in this one. Yeah,
same vibes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I wasn't sure Neil Patrick Harris's German accent was going to work for me. And then the customer calls him out on it. Your accent's kind of slipping.
Mm-hmm.
And then later he uses a French accent. And then later he uses an English accent. I'm like, okay, yeah, that's just part of
and
the
then even an American accent.
And then in America, well, yes.
I think he was putting a British twinge to it, but yeah, it was more American than anything. Well, and I guess that's okay. What is it? Then
that's all right. Then
yeah,
that's supposed to be the American.
Was. It certainly was.
He was so good.
Mm.
So very good. It panged me. Well, I'll get into that. Let me stay with the good stuff now. Okay, so we're working our way through. We got up to Soho, and a very cool quick jaunt back. That was an nifty way of using this to. When did this happen? Okay, and then he goes to take care of it. It's like, yes, proper use of time travel in a Doctor Who story.
Mm-hmm.
Yay! So we come back to Unit, and another thing that I've seen some people complain about online is, oh, we always get this big epic moment of the TARDIS being picked up by a helicopter and flown in somewhere, and blah blah blah. And it's like
it's happened twice.
Okay, but you know what?
At least this time he got to ride in the actual helicopter instead of hanging off the bottom of the TARDIS. At least they checked to make sure he was not in the TARDIS this time when they picked it up.
How many times? How many episodes did Unit bring the TARDIS to the Doctor on the back of a truck? Back in the Pertwee days. This is not new. This has just been expedited. We're just upgrading it. It's just everything's got to advance, and this is the new way we do things. It makes sense to pick it up with a helicopter,
especially when you got to go long distances like they were.
Yeah, who wants to get caught in traffic? Just fly there. I loved the Doctor's gentle barb about, I remember how much time and effort your father spent keeping this place a secret.
Did anybody think, the way she was walking up to him, did anybody expect her to slap him the way she was coming at him?
Yeah.
That's what I expected. I did not expect the hug. That was crazy.
Yeah. I was here. Boom, 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 boom. Here it comes. And hug.
Yep. And then, as Sean pointed out,
credit where credit's due. That one wasn't mine. I just happened to forward it on because I didn't think of it. I was like, oh yeah, the official canonicization of downtime.
Yeah, because Kate mentions Yetis, fighting Yetis.
Which is cool. Yeah. I mean, it is.
I love it. I love it.
It's a one step closer to the tapestry of the Who fabric being one
woven
thing.
together. Yeah, it's becoming more of a quilt now.
So that was all great. The toy maker's entrance. Okay, so his arrival at Unit, absolutely loved, because it's just
to the Spice Girls,
big and it's high energy.
I'll
and
tell
it's
you,
the Spice Girls, and it's like, yes.
I watched that on Saturday, and then that song was in my head all day Saturday, all day Sunday. Went to work today and finally got out of my head, and then I came home and watched the episode again, and it's back in my head tonight.
That was fantastic, but. And I'll come back to that when I do the 10% of the things that I was a little like, nah. So right now we're just going to leave that dangling. Remind me to come back to it. Did anybody else legit worry when he got a hold of the gravimetric beam that we might just lose a couple of companions and support staff? These people might just not belong for this world anymore.
No, yeah, the first time I watched it, I was certainly on edge that there was a chance, but also I didn't think that because of the fake out death in the first one, I didn't think we'd get a Donna death in this one. I just in the back of my head, I didn't think Donna was going to die in this, and
I didn't think they'd bring Mel back just to kill her.
Exactly. And knowing that Mel's presumably going to be in the series, in Shitty's series as well at some point, I didn't think they'd kill her either. And then same thing with Kate. So I don't think at that time I felt like any of them were actually in peril, but it was tense enough that I thought anything could happen here as well. So yeah, a little bit maybe.
I totally thought somebody's going to die. Somebody is going to get hit with this ray beam and go down. And I kind of thought it was Donna, because despite the fake out early in the Star Beast, Odd Duck Phil and I have been dreading these three specials for a year and a half, 2 years since they were, casting was announced. Because, oh, look, they're bringing back Donna. That's so awesome. Oh, look, they're bringing back Grandpa Wilf. That's so awesome. He's going to kill them.
Well, this isn't Moffat.
Yeah, you see,
it's worse. It's RTD.
No, it's not in it. Well, if you think about it, compare the eras. There were more deaths than bring them back in some weird way, but in Moffat's era than there were in RTD's era. So
as he goes to great pains to point out in the story.
Yeah, right.
Talk about that. How gut punch heartbreaking was that to see that one after another, and kind of be reminded of, oh yeah, we did go through a spell there where companions went down left, right, and center.
That was another thing.
But then I also thought to myself, well, but then Ryan and Graham and Yaz were just fine.
No, so but that's just it. And there were a lot of
over to the Flux.
Right. Well, there were a lot of people hollering online, going, "Oh, well, they just skipped right over Ryan and
Yaz." They got okay endings.
Yeah, because they got to go home.
It doesn't prove his point.
Right. Exactly. So there was no way he's going to use them as an example. The Flux, on the other hand, wiped out half the universe, so it was going to be one of his examples.
And just what a brutal visual that, it's a toy maker. Mm-hmm. So here's the marionettes and the strings and the scissors, just wow. That was that was probably might have been the most impactful visual part for me of the whole story.
I think the guy that had become the marionette was one of the more impactful visual things for me. The assistant of the television guy, when he went in there and pulls him off the wall, and then he unwraps him, and all of his body is the marionette, and then the strings coming up, and that wonderful upshot of Neil Patrick, or of the toy maker. That was really, really impactful for me.
Yeah, agreed.
But on the other hand, it gets really tense in that other room with Donna, and then Donna just goes full Donna on those dolls. That was great.
And I like how she deals with the mom and the babies are like, nope. And just runs away.
Anybody else? Nope.
And I'll be honest, I was a little torn because it was like, do I feel any remorse over that? No, I don't.
Yeah,
and Donna didn't either.
No.
Let me tell you my tale of woe. No, not interested. Not having this. So, and then in true writer's fashion, if we have a gun, it must be fired by the end of the story. Here comes the death I was so worried about. Not who I thought.
And not a death like you thought.
And zap, and it's like, oh, okay, this is how it's going to happen. I'm okay with that, And they go and they hold his hands, and I'm all starting to get a little verklempt, but excited at the same moment.
Yeah.
And then, what?
The regeneration energy goes away.
I'm going to put a pin in that and come back to that.
Feels different this time.
Feels different this time. I want to talk about Shudigawa.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man.
Just
a commanding presence as soon as he came on the screen.
As soon as he came on. And
immediately
again,
fell
one
in
of the
love
rarities.
with him.
Yes, one of the rarities where it didn't take me any time at all to get, I'm going to have to warm up to him. No, just from the get-go, I'm on board. I cannot wait for more.
He's got such a presence to him and such a calmness where, David Tennant's energy is so high and everyone's after him. Jodie's a little less, but everyone after him has kind of kept that same high energy, just go, 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 go. And the calmness, while he's not still, but he moves with purpose. He's not just fidgety. He's still and just so much there. And I think as we see throughout the rest of the episode, it winds up being a doctor that, has dropped his baggage, so he's kind of free to move on.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what we see in him instantly.
Yeah, well said. Agreed.
And he's got, this is kind of a weird juxtaposition, but the calm vibe that he exudes is also paired with this Matt Smith-like innocence and enthusiasm.
Well, and wonder.
Yeah.
Sense of wonder.
Yes.
Sense of wonder.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's, back to a doctor who's, let's go see the universe,
Yeah.
And so
let's go see the wonders of the universe. It's not let's go fix the universe because it's my job. It's I want to go explore.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna get just a little bit ahead of myself here, but in the Next Time trailer, I don't know if you guys have seen it, very much still that vibe from him, which I think is cool.
It's almost an Eighth Doctor. These shoes, they fit perfectly, kind of just finding the joy in the simplest of things.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that was amazing. And again, so very hyped for him. And we dispatched the toy maker, and then we have this tugging at the heartstrings, incredible sequence of self-help. And if there's anybody that needs it,
the doctor needs a doctor more than anyone else, as kind of foreshadowed in the last episode.
Yeah. And just, he comes in and he gives him a hug, which is not a reaction you get a lot of with multiple doctors. Most of them have a verbal barb and maybe a twinkle in the eye and a smile, but they kind of tolerate each other, but that's the extent of it. And this one's just like, no, come here. And a hug. It was like, wow, I didn't know how much I needed to see that.
Yeah.
And the acknowledgement that it's okay to let go is such a powerful moment. That, I mean, you could do this on any show, and it would be something, but to do it on this show with this history, with these kinds of things, and we've all assumed that there are breaks in the action, that the Doctor does get to go fishing occasionally.
Sure.
They do get to spend some time in the Eye of Harmony before it all goes wrong again. But for the most part, the televised sequence of adventures for 60 years has been from one disaster to the next, from one death to the next, from one bad guy to the next, invading army, suicidal megalomaniac scientist, just da 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 da. And the fact that the Doctor has weathered that for as long as he has is just so incredible. And I loved, did anybody catch it was almost a drop line where when Donna was talking to him and said something about, well, you've never really, done this or whatever. And he kind of glibly said, I'm millions of years old.
Billions.
Or billions of years old.
Yeah.
Okay, so in my mind, that 100% puts to rest the argument about the confession dial.
You could argue that, but you also have to remember the timeless child element of it also.
That adds even more billions.
Yeah. So
yeah.
I think you
also have to remember I don't acknowledge.
Well, that's just it. You can look.
But the timeless child often says, when Matt Smith says in The Day of the Doctor, I'm so old I forgot how old I am.
Well, that to me that's always been a cheat. And so I think this time was more definitive. So you don't have to say that anymore. I think that what it does is it acknowledges the confession dial, and I think it also acknowledges the timeless child at the same time. So I think that it works on both levels.
Because billions is pretty vague. I'm decades old right now.
Right.
I didn't say how many decades. He didn't say how many billions.
Right.
It's a big number to us, but once you get so far, it's like, it's billions.
Is that in Gallifreyan years or
Plutonian years? I mean, I don't think that's made a circuit around the sun yet.
Yeah. So I love the fact that we get a happy ending, essentially. And of all of the Doctors to get it, other than the War Doctor, I think Tennant's Doctor is the one that really kind of, this is good. And I love the kind of postscript scene with him sitting around the noble family, and as he said, this would kill me. I'm going to get bored. And all I could think of was the Matt Smith episode where he's painting the fence and running around.
Right.
Which one was that? Power 3. But it just to see him acknowledge that he needs the break.
Yeah.
That was so wonderful.
I love the sentiment of it. And I think I would have liked it more had they not given him his own TARDIS. Because of this Doctor, and especially this incarnation of the Doctor, considering the characterizations he's carried over from the 10th, I have a hard time believing he's going to sit back and retire.
Well, he's not.
He's obviously popped off back to Mars once.
Yeah, he's popped off.
So it's a happy ending, but it doesn't feel like it's a resolution for the character.
See, I sort of think, though, that... because of the bi-generation, I think affords the 15th Doctor to go out there and continue to the adventures to fix the universe and to be there, to be the hero. There's no longer the pressure on the 14th Doctor to do that, or this lineage of Doctors to do that. And so I think that the TARDIS doesn't become a have to go fix the universe tool. Gets to go explore the universe and look at the things, and maybe not run from one disaster to another, but run to one wonder, from one wonder to another. And so I think that on a level it does work, because he absolutely would have gotten bored. There's no way that someone's going to live that long is going to be that, going to be able to set and just retire, because everybody around him is still going to get old. I mean, didn't slow down his life cycle. And so I think that giving him a TARDIS to still have that mechanism to go off and do things, I think works. I don't think you could have left him without a TARDIS, because to me that would have been unrealistic.
See, and I fully thought and bought into the idea, they're going to leave him without a TARDIS, and he is going to lead the unit spinoff.
Yeah.
That's totally what I thought was going to happen. I think
they've tucked him away to make him at least come back in that series. And then if they decide to do a spinoff, I did think something I've been wanting to read for a while. I did see somebody tweet out that RTD is giving out David Tennant's like he's Oprah.
You get a David Tennant. And you get a David Tennant.
So I thought that was funny, and that's ultimately, we're arguing about that. We're not arguing. We're discussing about him getting a TARDIS. Ultimately, that's what it's for. There is this grand plan for a multiverse of Doctor Who, and that gives them a chance to bring him back anytime they want. It gives them a chance to spin off a series with his Doctor if they want. We already know that Rose is. They've already said Rose isn't done. So ultimately they could end up having some adventures together as some little mini series a year down the line or 2 years down the line or whatever. And I would be fine with that. Before I kept thinking, I'm not sure I like the idea of giving us an out where we can just continue to bring, David Tennant back anytime we want. But then I got to thinking about it and I thought, I enjoyed these 3 specials so much, and I enjoyed seeing David Tennant again. I wouldn't mind seeing more David Tennant as the Doctor. And if this affords us a way to move on with the 15th Doctor and have adventures continuing on, but also be able to revisit the 14th Doctor without having it to be a multi-Doctor story, then all power to them. I think they should do it. I'll be perfectly fine with it.
I think that segues perfectly into what Davies has been saying in the additional media, and not just Doctor Who Unleashed, but he talks about it in the official podcast and more details in the commentary track, unfortunately only available on the BBC iPlayer, that the idea of this bi-generation, every version of the Doctor bi-generated. It caused a ripple effect backwards so that there is Sylvester McCoy's Doctor out there still as the Doctor, but aged. Mm-hmm. And that's how Tales of the TARDIS kind of fits continuity-wise also, is those Doctors are actually the Doctor, but have bi-generated and continue to live their lives. So I think they definitely set up, if he follows through with it, he's definitely set up a way to let any Doctor come in, regardless of their age or anything else, and play their role in any sort of spin-off or guest spot that they want.
And that's where we're probably getting away from some of the things Sean wanted to talk about, but that was one of the things that when I heard that, I thought it was vague enough that he didn't definitively say it, but he implied that, and I agree that's what he meant. But I think unless it's defined a little better, it'll be harder for me to wrap my head or accept it, because it's almost like there was some metaphysical, when those guys pulled each other apart, you created this multiverse of Doctors, which I think is okay, but how? We don't see it happen. What are the
practicalities?
Right. And there's no explanation of the physics or the reality of that. Right now, it's just an abstract idea. And so I think if they can figure out a way to present it so it's not so abstract, then I'm probably okay with it. But at this point, it doesn't set well yet. Not that I don't like the idea, but I need a little bit of more of a bridge as to how that works, because I didn't see it work.
Right. He's saying all of this in the unofficial canon aspect of, here's what I'm intending. This is what my thought process is of kind of justifying the bi-generation. And until it gets explained further in the show proper, it's hard to really understand how it's going to work.
Right.
Because I assume then that they bi-generate and the Doctor continues, has his memories, but then the ones that are left behind can't regenerate again. They're basically human. But that's not clear enough. We don't know that's true or not.
Yeah, and see, I didn't take that away. Here's my thing is initially when that happened, with the bi-generation happened, my thought was, okay, well, this is interesting because yes, Ncuti Gatwa is the 15th Doctor, but can the 14th Doctor regenerate again? And so
That's
I
the
guess
question.
so that's what, yeah. So is Russell saying that, as you kind of stated, that might be that all of these doctors, including 14, now they aren't, I think you were using human in a sense of they're, human-like, where they now, they may have an extended still life, but they aren't going to regenerate beyond this version of any of them. And I'm not sure how that works either. So, because I did like one of the theories some people postulated was that maybe the curators that we've gotten, both the 6th Doctor version and the 4th Doctor version, maybe they are further versions of Tennant after the 14th Doctor regenerates. Might be an interesting thing to explore. I don't know that they ever would. I'm not sure that anybody wants to put, a definitive lineage on the curator. I think that's a fun mystery that people are kind of leaving out there, but that could be, something. And I kind of liked that idea of that being a possibility. I don't know. The nice thing about this is there's already almost 2 seasons of Doctor Who available that we have yet to see. And there's a lot that's going to be explored, and it is RTD's sandbox now. He's the one playing in it. He's the one that's going to be formulating and molding the series from here on out. So we'll just have to see what he does beyond this. But right now, I'm not disappointed with how it's happened.
I think my only concern is lack of actually following through on it.
And that's possible it might not. Yeah.
That, and if that's the case, I can excuse away what happened because of the toy maker's interference and how he affects reality. Oh, well, that caused it to happen this one time.
Mm-hmm.
And it basically caused a non-regenerating version of 14 to continue and 15 to go on and go about his merry way.
Well, that's a good point.
But
because
if they don't revisit it, it's not the end of the world.
But that is a good point, that the toy maker, it was in this universe at the time that it happened. So I suppose that could what happened reverberated out within the universe based on the ability of the toy maker. So perhaps
that's where the seed for this was laid. Was in the previous episode in Wild Blue Yonder. And he references that when he says, "I threw salt at
cast the salt at the end of the universe." Yeah,
and created that myth, and now bi-generation, which was a myth, has become a thing.
Yeah.
So if the Doctor's actions in Wild Blue Yonder have sparked this weakening of the fabric of the universe, where it allows the toy maker to come through, it allows the ideas of myths and legends to suddenly become real.
That might be
very possible that that's where, so that was the origin of it. And then this is where we're going with it from here. And so from that end of it, I'm very okay with it. And for all of the reasons that you guys said, that this is, being able to dust Tennant off and bring him back whenever we want, that's kind of a cool thing. Along with the implications that if this spiraled backwards through the timeline, and that's how we're going to get these Tales of the TARDIS, and that, all of these Doctors, because they even said, I think it was the 7th Doctor in that one said, sometimes I regenerate and sometimes I grow old. It just depends on, it's just different sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
That makes all of that work, which is very cool. I'm with you guys on, okay, but now what? I would like to have at some point some exploration of where we go with this. So is the 14th Doctor just going to go ahead and be there on Earth and live out his life and heal, which is, as Ncuti Gat was, 15th Doctor said, oh, that's the beauty of the Time Lords. I'm already receiving the benefits of, your therapy sessions. So he's going
Therapy
to heal
out of
and get
order.
better. Yeah. He's going to heal and get better, which is great. Then what? Does he die and the regeneration energy feeds back into 15? Or does he die and regenerate on his own and create yet another copy? And I think that's kind of one of those things where my fan brain is having trouble letting go of that. Because you gave me this nifty new concept, but you didn't give me enough to build on to, it's kind of like Timeless Child 2.0. You have now broken the sandbox and I want you to fix it. And it still kind of works within the confines of what you've set up. But the fanboy in me is going, no, the rigid rules are this, and this. And the rest of me is going, dude, there are no rigid rules. It's Doctor Who. You've got to let it go.
Timeless Child.
And so until we get down the road with that, I'm not sure how I feel about this concept. It's a little foreign. And I'll be honest.
Think about it though. We're only 3 episodes into RTD 2.0 era, so there's a lot to be explored and a lot to be done.
So much more to come.
Yeah.
And there's a part of me that, is maybe a little jaded over the very casual hand waving away of the tragedy of David Tennant's Doctor, of the one who regrets and the one who forgets, that all of a sudden, well, we're just not going to have that anymore because, well, we fixed it. We gave him a happy ending, and it's Tennant, which is everybody's favorite. So of course he gets the happy ending. And, the tragedy of Donna. Well, now she gets a happy ending. And you get a happy ending, and you get a happy ending, and it's kind of like, but the impact of those episodes was that they didn't get a happy ending. But now
look at how much longer it took to get the happy ending. It doesn't take the impact of those episodes away, especially if you go back and rewatch it all in order.
Exactly.
It just means that 10 years later, or even further, he actually gets resolution to the
I'm the same.
ending.
I'm the same. I completely echo what you're saying. I agree with that.
How ironic is it that of all of the RTD companions, Martha Jones, the one that was legit in love with the Doctor, at least on her end, didn't get a David Tennant.
That's true. She's the only companion.
Everybody else got one. So yeah, it's just one of those. I was like, I'm gonna shelve it because I feel like I need more. And this is kind of one of those things that now that it's done, now that the genie's out of the bottle, we may never go back and explain it.
Yeah.
Ever.
Well, and that's where a thing of retcon, hand waving and retconning of, it's a toy maker's meddling is where your answer solves. And I think they did do, as far as the trauma stuff goes, I think they did a good job in their conversations showing that it was more than just the 10th Doctor's trauma that we were dealing with, going all the way back to Mavic Chen.
Right.
I mean, I thought they did a really good job of showing this guy has lived a very, very long life. And there's been a lot that he's had to deal with that he needs to resolve.
Yeah. Russell very early on shied away from doing too much with the classic lore because he didn't want to turn off new viewers. And so now we're finally getting a moment where he can include all of this stuff that I think he's been chomping at the bit to do for so many years, and at least make mention and acknowledge. And so this episode especially does that.
I love the fact that Ncuti's got a jukebox in his turn. That's such a very...
I wonder if Tennant will get a chair.
And it's wheelchair accessible.
I love the wheelchair accessible.
Which means, is it Susie? What's the
Shirley.
Shirley. Now that Shirley will probably have a few trips with Ncuti.
No more weird edits around K9.
Yeah, now K9 can get in.
That's the whole reason he did it. Let's be honest.
So yeah, all of that was absolutely fantastic. I feel like, in a way, this is where the negatives start to come in just a little bit. In a way, I feel like Russell borrowed from himself. That great sequence of the toy maker singing and dancing his way through unit headquarters felt very, oh, it's the master and the scissors.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that he's that kind of villain, and we've had this before. I'm okay with it because I enjoyed it, but at the same time, it's like, well, that's the thing. The surviving David Tennant, you know, feels a little bit of a replay. And what was the thing earlier that I said I was going to come back to?
It was during the By Generation.
It was before that.
It was
earlier?
earlier.
It was before
so
that.
It was between the. It would have been between the dance off, or not dance off, the dance scene with To the Spice Girls and the By Generation. There was a moment in there. What was it? That wasn't one you told us to remind you about, though.
No, it wasn't?
No.
Well, that's a good thing because you didn't remind me.
Well, yeah. I just said the two things that I remembered that you told me to remind you. But there was another one in there. You're right. You just didn't say remind me, so I didn't commit it to memory.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
It feels very much like an episode that I think maybe it goes back to why I wanted another 20 minutes of it, because there was so much build up and potential.
Yeah.
For here's these earth shattering ideas, and then ta-da, we'll deal with it later.
But yeah,
which
because
is very Doctor Who.
Because yeah, that's just it. It is very Doctor Who. Let's deal with it later, and it gives. I mean, again, this is 3 episodes into RTD 2.0, so we've got a lot to do. Some of the things that I thought was fascinating about this whole thing is that he mentions the one who waits. The toy maker mentions the one that he ran away from was the one who waits. He didn't do anything with him. So we don't know what that's going to be about. We have the boss.
A wonderful fan theory out there. Have you?
Yeah, the Zagreus one. I don't think they'll go that. I don't think Russell's ready to tie that closely together to Big Finish, but who knows? We'll see.
Adapted a comic book.
Well, that's true. The one that waits, though, it was one that was there. The boss we didn't get answered in this one. We thought maybe it was going to be the toy maker. It was not ever said that the boss for the Meep was the toy maker, so that's still lingering out there. The toy master mentions that My Legion is coming, so there's going to be more there. The tooth with the master inside was picked up at the end, very Flash Gordon style, and somebody else pointed out very much in the same vein of the end of Last of the Time Lords, where
that's true.
Lucy picks up the not Lucy,
and it was looked like a woman's hand Lucy too, at least red.
So I think that somebody's onto something that I've been trying to decide whether to bring this up because it might be a little spoilery, but somebody pointed out if you look at Kate's hand, she has the exact same nail polish on. Exact same color.
I kind of wondered after seeing it if that was unit's going to scoop that up and secure it away into the Black Archive.
And would anybody else? Somebody would have noticed anybody else on that wasn't already there on that helipad that wasn't already there. So there's a good chance that that's maybe being tucked away for a unit story, or maybe she's being influenced in some way, which is possible. She's the reason why the master maybe will come back. Who knows? But that's still out there. I did love
the reason for Shudi's doctor to come back to unit in his seasons.
Yeah, that's true. I was relieved that they revisited or they closed the Cast the Salt at the End of the Universe point. And what was my other one? The Meeps boss. Why did I write down 14? Oh, and then what happens to the 14th Doctor after this. So
Which I think that's what it was, is now that we've got the 14th Doctor there, while I'm all for some more David Tennant adventures occasionally, that to me now creates the class problem, where class comes out and we've got this group of characters and we're going to put them through their paces and give them these really hard
I know what I was going to say.
challenges. And so we get a unit show and it's like, okay, great, we're going to go do the thing. You have the Doctor living down the road.
So that I'm glad you said that, Sean, because that reminded me of one of my other points as to why it was important to give 14th a TARDIS, because it does take him out of
conveniently.
It does take him out of the picture. He can conveniently be gone when there's a major threat that unit is having to deal with on their own. I thought of that earlier, and then it went out of my mind when we were talking about it. But that was exactly one of the other reasons why I think it was good to give 14 a TARDIS of his own, from a storytelling standpoint, anyway.
Yeah, because as I said, if the Doctor lives next door, well, now what? Because you don't want to go to him for every single problem, but you could. And so whenever the stakes get raised to a point where it's like, oh, wow, this looks bleak, and then David Tennant swoops in to save the day, it's kind of like, he becomes this deus ex machina. And so I'm a little leery of that. I hadn't thought about the fact that the TARDIS means he could be unavailable, which is good. Because that's what we're concerned about with class, is that if Capaldi was going to show up every time they got into too much trouble, well, then how good is this show really going to be?
Right.
So that's kind of another thing that's lurking out there now. And I don't know that this is the weird thing about this is Russell can say that this is all set up for this multiverse and that, okay, we've unlocked the secret to it, but I don't know that it was necessary, just from the standpoint that it's Doctor Who, it's time travel, it's you kind of already have everything at your disposal that you needed for this.
Yeah, I think the idea is now, for at least bringing in prior Doctors, you don't have to come up with an excuse of why they look older.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but we haven't done that to begin with.
Well, they've tried to give us one-off lines every once in a while. I mean, look at Time Crash. They give some lines about stuff, and
exactly.
They even tried to do something in Power of the Doctor to explain why the holograms looked older and different.
It just is. How did the Master come back after being burned alive? I don't know. He just does. I've kind of moved beyond the need for that stuff, which is weird that I'm the one going, well, how does this work?
Right.
I don't know.
No,
so, I like I said, I love 90% of it.
Yeah. Just real quick. Well, let's quickly wrap it up because we're going a bit long. If we were a show that ranked episodes of these 3 episodes, how would you rank them?
I think I would go Wild Blue Yonder, Giggle, Star Beast.
Okay. Sean, what about you? I know I'm putting you guys on the spot here, but
Wild Blue Yonder, Star Beast, Giggle, but not by much.
That's interesting because mine is the Giggle, Wild Blue Yonder, and then Star Beast. As much as I like the meep, so first, second, third, yeah.
They're all very, very close.
They all are very
such
close.
A stellar 3 episodes.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
And I reserve the right to change my my ranking after a second viewing.
Right. All right, let me read out some feedback real quick on our Traveling the Vortex Facebook page. Aaron said a happy ending isn't what one expects when the Doctor regenerates. I am pleasantly surprised. Russ said, wow, what a third special the Giggle turned out to be. Great story, superb performances all around, a new style regeneration, a brilliant new Doctor, and the Master coming back. We couldn't have asked for more. Jamie wrote, oh, wow, that was outstanding. The true anniversary special. Neil Patrick Harris was a delight as the toy maker, and I'm making I'm liking what I'm seeing of the new Doctor. We got a multi-Doctor story everyone was clamoring for, and I thought it was a great ending for the 14th Doctor. John said, I expected it to be great, but it far exceeded my expectations. Now we don't have to worry about other adventures being shoehorned into a packed 3 episodes. They can spend another 10 years letting the Doctor breathe, or leave it as it stands. Either way, they did a great job. And then Rick says, the stuff of legend, Neil Patrick Harris, very nearly steals the show from not 1, but 2 Doctors. Bonnie Langford's return was a delight, and the phenomenal hour ties the bow on David Tennant's whole history as the Doctor. A joyous, lovely, altogether beautiful ride. Now bring on Christmas. And I concur. All right. Well, Sean, what do we got coming up on the schedule?
Well, coming up on the schedule, we're going to review the new episode of Doctor Who next week. Oh, wait, there isn't one.
This just in.
And then depression set in.
For a week.
But only for a week.
But only for
a week and a day.
Yeah, so we are going to give you a look at some fun and games with our look at Doctor Who 60 Years of Adventure, the RPG from our friends at Cubicle 7, who were kind enough to provide us with the materials for that. And then we get Christmas.
Yay!
The Church on Rose Lane and the first episode of Shootigatwa proper. And the Goblin Song, which is ranked #1 on some broken music service nobody's ever heard of or uses. But maybe it'll do better, on the Billboard charts by the time Christmas rolls around.
Maybe.
So that's something to look forward to.
They don't have Billboard there. All right. You can find us on our website, travelingthevortex.com. If you get any value out of this podcast, why not consider putting some value back into it? You can do that becoming a Patreon and click on that Patreon link and support us there. And also, please consider giving us a 5-star review wherever you subscribe to this podcast. It helps bump us up in ratings and recommendations. Anything else we need to touch on before we close this program? If not, until next time, I'm Glenn.
I'm Sean.
I'm Keith.
Cheers.
Good night, everybody.
Be seeing you. Thanks for listening.
You have been listening to Traveling the Vortex. Doctor Who and all of its associated programs are owned and trademarked by the BBC. No infringement is intended or implied.
Direction point! Direction point!
A Doctor Who podcast network.